Rockford's home for classic rock, 96.7 The Eagle. Good morning. It is Double T. And if you like flea markets, this is one of the best ones you can hit in Illinois. It's the world famous Wheaton, Illinois all-night flea market. It's this Saturday, 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the DuPage County Fairgrounds. And the cool thing about this, and Zerko Promotions that puts this on and these events on, they bring in a bunch of cool old school celebrities for you to meet while you're looking for all these bargains and collectibles and stuff. And this year, they're doing something really, really special. And if you're a fan of Bozo the Clown and you watched Bozo Circus and the Bozo Show and everything in Chicago through the years, then you're not going to want to miss it, because the Bozeum is going to be there with all kinds of great collectibles. And Tom Holbrook, a Bozologist. Did I say that right, Tom? Bozologist?
Oh, yeah, you got that right, Big T. You got that right. You got that right.
So how does one become a Bozologist?
Oh, I have to attribute it to my mother. She started me out with a Lakeside Bendy, and the Chicago-based show growing up out here in the Chicago viewing area was so huge and hot that, and so much fun as well, as many people will remember, that, I don't know, I became like a Bozo magnet in a way. And then I collected a mass of toys and tchotchkes and food items, and my goodness, you just name it, and more than likely it was produced with Bozo's happy face on it. Now, that being said, I've also interviewed many of the Bozo actors across the country, and that's really been a delight. And with that, I guess I'd call myself the Bozologist, and my friends started it in a way, because I was always hot on interviewing the actors and finding out about the other TV shows, and that led me into publishing the Bozo Chronicles in 2010. It was a niche market book. Has about 800 pages and about 1,600 rare and unpublished images. It covers the years of 1946 to 1956, when the character of Bozo was known as Bozo the Capitol Clown, and he worked for Capitol Records.
Wow, it's such an interesting history of Bozo, and for me and all my friends, like, Bozo, that was it. Like, that was the show. We all watched Bozo. I mean, you could go in the live studio audience. My mom set in for tickets, like a lot of moms did when she was pregnant. And I don't think I got to go until I was like 8 years old. But, 4 or 5 times I made it on Bozo, and it was such a special experience for myself. But what do you think it was about Bozo that made it so popular?
Well, there's many facets, I would say, but the biggest thing is that it was truly a circus atmosphere. With Bob Trendler and his Big Top Band, you had Ned Locke as Ringmaster Ned, you had the wonderful performers backing up Bozo, you had Don Sandberg as Sandy the Clown, you had Ray Rayner as Oliver Old Oliver, and these guys knew their timing. But the man who knew his timing the best was Bob Bell. Bob Bell stepped into the shoes of Bozo the Clown as if he was Bozo. And he, for all of us, for all those years, he really was Bozo. And he just kept the electricity going and the comedy going. And sometimes the comedy was aimed more towards the adults, and the adults had just as much fun watching the show with their kids as the kids did watching the clowns have fun with each other.
Through the year, I'm talking to Tom Holbrook. He's got the Bozeum going to be at the world famous all-night flea market in Wheaton this Saturday. There was all kinds of different eras of Bozo, and they changed the stage, and some of the characters changed and stuff. Do you have a favorite era of Bozo?
That's interesting, because each one of them has a fondness. Now, I was born in 1964, so I missed out on probably the first 9 years of the show, so to speak, because I was just a little kid, and I remember watching it. And a friend of mine was on the show. He was a dear friend of my uncle's, and he was part of the Hiawatha pageant, and I guess that was in Elgin. I guess it was across the country as well. But the Elgin Hiawatha pageant, and they danced on the stage at the Bozo Circus, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And I must have been around 4 or 5 years old at the time, and that was one of the other things that ignited my passion for collecting Bozo the Clown. And then you get into the era beyond Ray and Don Sandberg and Bob Bell. With Bob Bell and Cookie, the chemistry was right there. And Cookie the Clown was portrayed by the great Roy Brown, a fantastic puppeteer, illustrator, artist, performer. He had great timing, and he and Bob Bell played off of each other so very well that it just every day was a lot of fun. And I think Bob said it best when he said that we go out there and let it rip and try to have a good time and do our best, and if it doesn't work, come back and do it again tomorrow and see what we can do. But the era of Bozo then changes into working with Joey Dioria. And when Joey Dioria came in '84, people weren't really sure at first, because, oh my gosh, we grew up with Bob Bell. But Joey stepped into those shoes like it was no tomorrow. It was a fantastic time and a wonderful run with Bozo and all the characters. To nail it down to just one specific era for me would be a little bit challenging, because I loved the entire show, but there's also other shows across the country that were just as much fun, though they did not run for 40 years like the WGN show.
Yeah, and you talked about Joey. You mentioned Joey. Joey is going to be out at the all-night flea market, also in Wheaton, on Saturday to meet fans. So you can actually, not only can you see your amazing collection of Bozo collectibles, but you can also meet one of the Bozos. That is going to be such a fun night, isn't it?
I agree. Bozo is a nationwide treasure, and David Arquette is going to take him into the future. And what Mr. Harmon created with many Bozo shows across the country is going to be electrified on Saturday night when people get a chance to see a primer of the Bozeum and some of the collectibles. We'll be running from 1946 collectibles all the way to 2023. Now, Joey, the second Bozo in Chicago, is a fantastic performer on his own. He does theater, he does voiceovers for cartoons and such. He has an immense timing and background in the arts, and it's going to be a wonderful thing for Joey to be there. And so what we wanted to do with the Bozeum was just honor Joey's appearance back in the Chicago area after 20-some-odd years, and give the fans a little bit more of a treat. Not only do they get the chance to meet Bozo, but then they get to see some of the amazing stuff from the era. I'm going to emphasize a lot of stuff from WGN's years and the Chicago-based time, and you're going to see some amazing articles and newspaper photos and pictures and tchotchkes and promotional items that were presented and produced for the Chicago show.
Is there a collectible of Bozo for you, or a couple that just really stand out and they're your favorites?
Oh, in the Bozeum, so to speak?
Yes.
Well, I've been friends with so many different actors in Bozos and such. Frank Avrush, who was Bozo in the Boston area, he was a great friend of mine for 25 years, and owning his costumes, I own 2 of his costumes. That's really a treat to have into the Bozeum. And just to let people know, if you've never seen a Bozo costume from different marketplaces, you'll get a chance to see a couple interesting costumes in the Bozeum display this Saturday at Wheaton's world-famous all-night flea market.
Is there a Bozo collectible that's kind of like the unicorn? It's hard to find, but, that's the one everybody wants?
Well, I don't know which one everyone would want. One of my prized possessions in the Bozeum, and it's one of these things you can't take out because it's so rare, is a very fun film that was produced in the 1949 era, shot in Culver City, and it was turned into a promotional film, all this footage and such. It was shot at the Yankee Patterson Circus, and it was edited into a promotional film that toured the United States starting in Hutchinson, Kansas in 1951, and then continuing across the globe into the UK, into Germany, into France, and things like that. That is one of my favorite pieces by far.
Very, very cool. So recently there was a change in ownership of Bozo and the rights to Bozo. And you want to explain that whole situation?
Well, it's a very unique and very happy situation for the character of Bozo the Clown. David Arquette has acquired the rights to Bozo the Clown from the Larry Harmon Picture Corporation. Mr. Harmon owned the character with his partners originally in 1956, and then he bought his partners out a number of years later, and he continued Bozo's legacy from Capitol Records, who created the character in 1946. They gave up the character and the rights and sold them to Mr. Harmon in 56. Mr. Harmon continued from 56 all the way to just about a year or so ago when Mr. Arquette acquired the character. And Mr. Arquette's got some great ideas and some big plans for Bozo's future. Let me tell you a little bit about it here. Bozo the Clown is on a mission to get you to let your clown out. Bozo and his good pals, Jozo, Bozo, and Nunu, are spreading love, light, and laughter everywhere they go through creating art, games, and music. So remember, just keep laughing, and we hope to see you in your hometown soon.
Well, tell
That's
David.
Directly from David Arquette there.
Well, thank you. Tell David thank you. I know he's a really busy guy and it's got a lot going on, so tell him thank you for passing that word. And it's exciting that an actor like him is taking interest in Bozo.
Oh, it's going to be an exciting time for Bozo's new era in the future. There's some big plans going on and some secret things I know that David's working on that he'll release out to the public soon enough.
Very, very good. Now, is there somewhere on the internet that people can look you up and find you and maybe see some of the stuff you got going on in some of these Bozo collectibles?
Well, we are going to be planning to do some secret things with the Bozeum, and if anyone wants to see some of this stuff, I'd be happy to send them some photos and such, but we haven't yet put up the Facebook page. In fact, I believe that's going up Friday, and then we'll be doing some marketing for this Saturday as well. But the amazing collection is probably thousands of items if you start looking at all the photographs and the tchotchkes and the figurines and the puzzles and the games and oh my goodness sakes. Did you know that Bozo had his own milk and bread and peanut butter and jelly?
I did not. I mean, they're kind of like Kiss. Bozo and Kiss could probably compete.
It's just like Gene Simmons' Kiss Room, but it's Bozo.
That is so amazing. Is your book available? Can people pick up your book?
The Bozo Chronicles was published in 2010.
Okay.
Now, I published just a limited number for promotion and such, and the book is so big and such a niche that it sold out rapidly. I think there was maybe 50 copies printed at the most, and that's not a lot on a niche book at all. And a lot of those went out to promotion in regards to gaining access for reviews and things like that. And the book is so big that the price tag, unfortunately, is kind of big too, because producing a book like that, which is basically a couch leveler, it's about 2.5, 3 inches thick and 8.5 by 11, stuffed with photographs and interviews with actors and artists and voice actors and musicians and a background on just about anybody and everybody who was associated with the Bozo character in the Capitol Records years. Now, in 2020, I self-published a friend's autobiography. It's called Being Bozo. And you can check that out on Google Books. It's called Being Bozo by David Eaton. David was a Bozo actor out in the Ohio area in the late 60s. Now, the interesting thing is, 3 degrees of separation, David and Joey worked together when they were younger, and Joey wrote the foreword for David's book. And that book is called Being Bozo by David Eaton. We'll be publishing that again. We sold out of all the copies when it came out in 2020. And we are hoping to add a few more things that have come to light, as well as, I guess you'd say a little bit more fun for the book and for the fans and such like that.
Very, very cool. Well, this Saturday night, tomorrow night, the Wheaton, Illinois all-night flea market at the DuPage County Fairgrounds. The doors open at 3. You can go to zerkopromotions.com to find out more info, and the Bozeum will be there. Joey, one of the Bozos from the past, will be there, plus a bunch of other great celebrities. It's going to be a great night, and if you're a fan of Bozo, you got to go check it out. Tom, thank you so much for taking the time, and please stay in contact. I'd love to find out more down the road of what you got going on.
Hey, Double T, thank you so very much for having me on. I hope people will come out and visit the Bozeum, and especially come out and visit with Joey and reminisce about being a fan of Bozo and relive their childhood a little bit and feel like a kid again. Thanks again. I appreciate your time.
Anytime. It's Rockford's home for Classic Rock, 96.7 The Eagle.